to just find a way to make sure Uniboy does not get completely destroyed.
Yeah, and this is interesting because Breeze has just locked in the Kai'Sa. And whilst Kai'Sa is a power pick, we keep talking about the fact that this guy is willing to play mid-game carries. It wasn't until they played Flash Wolves, a team that clearly outclassed the Mad Team lineup in the final game of the LMS final, that they were willing to go towards this champion, and it did not look pretty.
So this is pretty interesting because that's an Aurelia locked in there for KT with Aatrox still left up. So could be flex, of course. We've seen it mid be pretty impressive, but maybe Snap's got something on his mind.
I agree. Could be. I think it's just UCAL saying, you know what, Uniboy, you got nothing here. Like, I just need this one champ. I don't want to risk it getting banned in the second phase. And with this pick, I can carry this game.
And people were telling me, Martin, you in particular, that I had over-indexed in my Mad Team preparation, that I had sat down and watched so many of their games. I was looking for a way for them to get Uniboy out of the mid lane laning phase.
Sandra?
And so much of it was actually not even priority picking his lane, was getting a good jungler for Kongyu that could just support him in that mid lane. It's such a potent area, and they're not going towards it at the moment. It makes me a little bit worried.
I mean, if they go Lissandra plus early game jungler, there's good setup around mid lane. The other strategy for them in the past have been banning a lot of mid laners, but they didn't go for it. This time, only the Akali was banned away, and that's almost more of a top lane at this point. But with Aurelia early locked in, I really feel like UCAS was saying, I am so confident if I get a carry pick in the mid lane, there's nothing you can do against me.
And I wonder if we see the Taliyah or the Olaf, because there are a couple of picks left for Kongyu in that jungle position.
But look at this.
Rakan?
They did the thing we've already seen a couple teams do, where they go Kai'Sa, Rakan, and they basically surrender the early laning phase, but there's already a Varus on the other side, and
Insta-box Leona.
Exactly, what's the counter pick we've seen to Rakan? It's Leona. Mad Team, your laning phase bot lane is not going to be fun.
You said draw for teamfight, Martin.
That's true. That's fair. You are correct. I didn't think necessarily you had to go for the Rakan here.
Agree. And there's Syndra banned away from KT, so going to keep that away from Uniboy as well.
That's really interesting. So that's like a top lane flex that they're worried about here with the Lissandra. We've already seen it played once with the Aftershock there from Licorice, and potentially other teams picking it up. We've seen it as a mid lane pick as well. Direwolves mid lane, a triple picked it up. Didn't have much success with it, but was one of the better performing members.
He tried.
Yeah, he really did try. I mean, he was dragging people with him at one point.
He really tried.
Really wasn't going his favor.
Well, we could see Mad Team banning away Scores champion. They're going to take Kindred off the board. KT respond with Sion, another solo lane ban taken away.
And honestly, Spawn, you already talked about the potential jungle pick. Like, Kongyu needs to just lock in something where he can be a huge carry for this team. Because right now, they don't have that bridge between the early game and the late game. So I feel like you need an early game jungler to
and I feel like the impressive thing here is if they just pick up the Aatrox now, then they have the opportunity to last pick jungle for score. So if it is going to be an Olaf, then he can take something like Elysian. If it's a Taliyah, maybe he can take something like an Olaf. And they just have the flexibility to play around it. Interesting that that's not what they're going for.
I like this Taliyah pick here, though, for score. I mean, we've seen it a lot in the jungle, been pretty successful so far. And if they absolutely have to flex it for UCAL, who was the Taliyah guy, they can if they need to really make a last-minute pivot in the draw.
I mean, Score was also one of the best Taliyah junglers in Korea because he's so smart in terms of pathing. He knows where to be and how to pressure on the map with the extra mobility she does bring when she's moving around. And it's one of the best early game junglers, and we just said how Kongyu needs to play an early game jungler, and he needs to be able to beat Score to get his team to the late game.
And the evolution of Taliyah jungle, you know, just from this quick jungler that has good ganks to the potential to start team fights with the wall, the ability to set up chokes around turrets or throughout the jungle is something that KT also does play around well. They don't have the most obvious engage apart from throwing out a Leona ultimate, so being able to funnel Mad Team in this situation into bad situations is going to make it very easy for something like a Varus Aurelia to access that backline.
Well, last two picks here for Mad Team were Olaf for the early game jungler and the Aatrox that fell all the way to 5th pick. But KT had saved something spicy for last. There's Swain locked in.
Very interesting with this Swain here. We obviously have to see where everything ends up going. Swain top lane is what I'm expecting right now. Aatrox as well going into the top lane on the side of Mad Team. So you get the range advantage on the side of Smep, and then you have the early game jungler with Taliyah. But we have to also look at the Olaf. It is often considered one of the counter picks to Taliyah. Once you get level 6, not before, but at level 6 when she can't knock you away, you can run her down. But I've seen a lot of junglers actually still take the Taliyah matchup and say, it's fine, we don't really care about the 1v1.
I think the other important thing to point out is that Kongya, for his team, is used to trying to get his mid lane and his top lane to shove a little bit to give him some vision. He does like to play around bottom lane, but you have to be able to do that in windows as Olaf. If you get counter ganked, you're in, you can't really get back out. So I think there is a lot of pressure on this Aatrox pick to actually work.
And now he's going to actually have a really hard time because last second, KT swapped Irelia to top lane. For Smeb, he's going to take the 1v1 matchup for himself with the Talia on his side. This should be really good for Smeb.
And the thing that I love that's kind of genius about what KT have done is that they intentionally left Aatrox through this draft, a pick that has been picked in phase 1 so early and banned so frequently throughout the tournament. They just took Irelia knowing they could flex it, and Smeb's like, if he takes the Aatrox that I'm baiting him into, I think I can win this matchup. And given the quality of player that Smeb is, I think he can win too.
Listen, it's an uphill battle from the start if you're a Mad team. You're playing against KT, the #1 seed, the LCK champion. But we saw when they played against EDG, they got to late game, they got to play big team fights. That is still the win condition for this team.
And I think that the impressive thing was that the team fights when their team was online, when the Ezreal was at 2.5 items, were actually quite impressive. It wasn't until late game when that Xayah was starting to scale up to 6 items that it started to fall apart. This time they do have the scaling AD carry.
Well, we'll see what happens here. Mad Team certainly a tough matchup ahead. KT Rolster looking to continue to put wins up on the scoreboard. As we'll see them play for the second time this World Championship. KT not got a whole lot of love on camera just yet, but we'll see what happens here as Mad are going to fan out. In fact, both teams just across the river, 10-man straight.
30 seconds.
And it's interesting that we're not seeing any level 1 action, because one of the strengths of both Talia and Olaf, especially when you have some form of CC, is the fact that they can walk into jungle early and get some deeper vision. I think this game could be won for KT rather early if Score is able to get eyes on the Olaf and try and track him around the map.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Whenever you chat to European junglers about Talia specifically, they always say that the most important thing in the early game is just knowing where the enemy jungler is at, because you're faster than he is. You can actually move around the map much quicker. So if you know, okay, he's about to clear something on bottom side, you can maybe invade his top side, or you can look for a player on the top side much quicker than he can go down to your bottom lane. So simply just having information is the #1 thing as a Talia jungle. For now, though, they do not have any deep wards. I did just notice the bot lane from Mad Team are running double cleanse.
And I was going to mention that that is something that they have done in the past. However, they do normally do it with a spell book, not with the Guardian. So this is a super defensive setup.
Yeah, the problem for Rakan is he's been actually nerfed so many times in the early game that he needs to run Guardian. Like, he just needs that keystone to have a proper laning phase, especially now that he got counterpicked with the Leona, and a Varus was also stronger in the early game than a Kai'Sa. Like, KT's bot lane is just set up to win.
Going to be a struggle certainly there as UCal does pull Uniboy in with the E, gets a bit of early trade damage down. Also, Fox Grasp of the Undying. We've seen this a little bit from Swains here and there, usually in top side, but he's going to have it here in mid as well. As Electrocute Fox on the other side for Uniboy.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I wanted to point out is that it is a very regular keystone on the Lissandra, but the fact that it has been just nerfed so many times, it is interesting to see the aggressive choice. This game is eventually going to devolve into 5v5 team fights, I feel, unless Smeb can get a big advantage in one of the side lanes. So I would have liked to have seen a defensive summoner spell coming out of Uniboy, trying to play more of the facilitator role as opposed to that burst assassin.
Give me that Predator. So you can actually roam to the bottom lane or top lane and try and shut down the Irelia here from Smeb. Because the thing about KT's lineup, and this is something they love to do, they draft very squishy front lines. This is effectively 4 carries and a Leona support as the tank right now. That means if you do actually end up overextending slightly, or maybe you fall a little bit behind, you're going to get bursted down very quickly by things like Lissandra. So I actually think on the side of Mad Team, there are ways where you can try and get the advantage because of the squishy champions.
Nice little trade there again from UCal. Does grab the pull and combo Uniboy in for a little bit of damage as Lissandra is trying to get the wave pushed up. Also see Score on the right-hand side is dipped down towards that Scuttle Crab. And Smeb right now has been a little bit of a bully trying to hold the wave frozen near the turret. Young going to respect that for now and just going to hold off.
And if this is the way the laning phase starts, then that first Drake, the Infernal Drake, is going to put so much pressure on this Mad Team lineup, because we've just said 4 carries are going to scale very well if they get their damage items. You can see that already the lanes in top and bottom are starting to stack up. The CS advantage is already starting to be there. If Score just has the ability to play around those 2 pushing lanes on the bottom side of the map, he's going to grab the Infernal Dragon. This game just accelerates to a point where potentially Mad Team can't keep up.
He's definitely going to keep having to push bot lane, also because Breeze just had a very early recall to buy a call on his side. Heavily investing now into the late game. Not just the call itself, but the fact he actually recalled this early. He was almost full HP.
You can't see it. There's actually a little cosmetic white flag that he also bought when he was back at the shop. Really just saying, you know what, don't
want to fight.
Exactly.
Let's farm.
Just surrendering the lane, which Deft and Mata will never let you get away with. So we'll see if they can continue building what has already been a pretty substantial early game lead.
But the thing about, you know, Cole versus, let's say, Doran's Blade, these kind of items, is actually like, Cole's super early, gives you slightly more lifesteal because it's just a flat amount you get, but it doesn't give you any HP. And that's kind of the one problem, I guess, if you are Breeze and K in the bot lane, is eventually you're going to hit level 6 on the side of Mata and Deft. And that all
it's on auto attacks only. It's not on, like, abilities or anything like that. Not that Doran's Blade is, but just the point that this is such a short-range AD carry. As soon as he steps up to a creep line, you have to expect that he's going to start taking some punishment. So I understand the investment. I would like to see how they now treat this, whether it is, you know, we're going to start rotating him around the wave early.
That's response there actually from K, as Mata does going with that first Zenith Blade, but loses the early trade with Deft also coming back to lane now with a Vamp Scepter.
Because the one thing you can do is if you do have to push in the top lane and you are willing to take these slower recalls to accumulate items, all of a sudden, when that fortification is down, you can maybe trade it into the Aatrox lane. You can see that he's regained control of that wave, push it in. If this happens on a separate bounce around the level 8, 9 mark, then you can potentially look to trade turrets, open up the map. And in a 50-50 game, you know, when you have something like a Kai'Sa in the bottom lane, you are happy to just trade gold. As long as you're going even, Kai'Sa should eventually get ahead, should be able to out-team fight.
Certainly the plan there for Mad as they try and weather some of the early game storm. As you can see, Yuko is going to return back to lane, actually has just some early defensive components here. As Uniboy maybe also taking a recall. Not yet though, but that revolver does signal that maybe Proto Belt, something we've seen from Lissandra a lot historically, but kind of depending on how the players are feeling a lot of the time. Kangyu though, back down towards the bot side. He's going to, again, make sure that Score isn't quite in the area. As we can see though, he's about to sneak into this bot side and try and give this KT bot lane their first blood.
Gotta remember the double cleanse. They should not be able to just die straight away. He will also sneak into the next brush here with the big wave. We do have Olaf on bottom side. He is level 6 now. Been doing Crux twice now. Something we see actually from all the Olaf players now. They just really value getting down to do that camp 40. Massive amount of experience. But Spawn earlier, you mentioned the Infernal Drake. Pretty set up for now. We'll take some damage though.
Yeah, and this is one thing that you do have to appreciate is the fact that Mad said, you know what, we don't have the push in the mid lane, we don't have push bottom lane. If we fight at this stage, we're probably going to be burning teleports to get behind them. There's no real wards to be able to do that. They do just have to let it go. Infernal Drake is one of those things when teams start pinging it at an early game. It doesn't really do all that much until you have 2.5 items. It isn't a big deal now, but it does continue to put that clock on Mad Team, who we already don't think maybe have that late game execution.
Yeah, and you get it for free.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't actually trade it for anything. You didn't really lose a whole lot. Maybe 3 minions bot lane, and that was about it.
Hey, red buff. They're both red.
That's true. You lose your red buff now.
I mean, I think I've cast 2 different 4-minute Drakes from Olaf already, so kind of denying that option is nice from KT as well, but at least the steal here, as you mentioned, happy to trade something around the map.
There's a little bit of pressure on Smep as well, knowing, okay, my jungler was bot side. They saw the Drake go down, so their jungler should be top side. He is just stepping away from the turret.
Ooh, he's going to get smack daddy there. Smep though, just kind of dancing back to the wave with that Tiamat, should be able to clear it pretty nicely, and Score is behind him in the lane just in case any shenanigans arise.
And that's both junglers so far, you know, Mad and KT, just shadowing the lane that had a big creep wave stacking into it. Not only is it bad to die first, it's also pretty bad if you lose the creep wave. Looks like some aggression top lane.
Done land. Smep though backing with a Blade Surge. Pops the Vanguard's edge. His Score, as that could be trouble already for Lung. Pops the world and needs to live. Is now going to resurrect. Has the flash ready to go, but Talia is going to be able to line it up. Runs forward. Smep looking for the first. He dodges the W, and Liang, he's out.
Score!
Okay, not that out. Score going to ride in. Look to dive the turret, and that knock-up of a hit may have been the kill, but instead it's first blood for Score.
Yeah, no reaction from Uniboy. Even with TP in the mid lane, he could have just used it to the turret and gotten a kill against Score, but he recalled instead. No movement whatsoever. 2 versus 1 top side, first blood KT.
But still, the fact that they were able to navigate it so well, they get 2 summoner spells out there. Probably the best trade you can hope once you're that far up the lane with no real way to retreat. So I do like what the top laner of Mad Team showed there. This is an interesting invade, however, because as we mentioned, Talia is quick around the map, already here to...
Yep, on the way out, because the score can only kind of hide between your 2 turrets. You will kill him, and you're not even using your TP back to lane. So we have to see if he's saving it for potential play, maybe on bottom side. Like, that's kind of what we're looking at. You do have Kai'Sa, Rakan. They are level 6, so Rakan Engage is available against something like a Varus. But he needs more than just Uniboy, I think.
Yeah, I'm interested to see whether it is a play where Marta and...
Because of the double TP, KT also have like control ward behind them to make sure there's not a deep ward. I think the one that was in the tribe was just killed by Score. So now that's a new ward being placed. Could be a TP location.
Or a dive, perhaps brewing here for KT. Score does not have his ult back and ready, but happy to force here with a pretty big wave on the turret. Turret itself also very low, so KT happy to play for either kills or the turret, and if Mad mess up, they might get both. There's TP topside now as KT will respond. Smeb taking a little bit of hit. It's currently 1v3 under the turret, but Yukal here is going to pop the ulti and maybe look for something, but again, just trying to keep them off the objective. No CC really landing. Chains is going well down to Filion. They are going to die, but there's a good Vanguard's edge for Smeb. Moves everybody off the turret.
And that is not what you want if you're Mad, because all of a sudden you've lost the first turret, still Score is pressuring down there in the bottom lane. And the solo laners of KT just say no, just put up a big wall and do not let them anywhere near aggression on the top side.
Certainly tough stuff there. As KT, as you mentioned though, did nab that turret there in the bottom side. So looking pretty good right now. 1,300 gold ahead.
And KT is so smart, because the play that most teams would be looking there is we've got a stacked up wave, we've got a Leona ult, he has no cleanse, let's pull the trigger, let's get all 5 members down there. But they realize that the counterplay is the double teleport, is the ability to collapse, have the CC and take them out. So instead, they don't even go for it, they just pressure, they force them away from the turret. Obviously when Mad go for the play on the opposite side of the map, they're also able to use Yukal's teleport to repel that. Just very nice awareness of what plays are opening for Mad and stifling that off the map.
And felt like if Matt wanted to cross map here, then you got to be ready to take the 3 versus 2 tower dive.
Absolutely.
And not actually start hesitating around and say, can we do it or not? Because the moment you go up to top side and you actually trade TP for TP, you're losing bot turret anyway. Like, then maybe your answer should not have been go top, it should have been TP bot side and try and match down there. But obviously, Olaf was top already, so he couldn't do it. Sadly for Mad Team, they're trying to win top side, but it's just not been working for them.
And now it's going to be a lot harder because KT have swapped their duel into top side, although maybe Skog going to get caught out here. Protobelt in, Lissandra all good, there's the recombo. Might be enough to pick up Score, it is as Changya gets it. Uniboy also low, KT are going to get a trade kill as Marta, he's able to pick it up. Now getting chased down by the Olaf as Yukal slays K, and Smeb rising to the last. Second is Death, able to grab the next kill onto Olaf. Aatrox diving back in, but Yukal nabs the double and KT collapse beautifully.
This is why everyone is terrified of KT. You think you have the proactive play, and they close their door again. Every single time Mad look for it, they just outplay them. And now they'll look for another turret.
They're just so fast. They see the fight, they react instantly, and then we know mechanically they can execute all these different skirmishes. It was almost too easy for Yukal. He just kind of stood at the side and spammed a few Qs in the head of Mad.
And you look at the juxtaposition, the hesitation on the top side of the play for Mad, the inability to execute on the dive. Then you look at what KT are able to do here, the instant repel. It's just so impressive to watch.
And understandably, as this play starts, we will get themselves our Acer Predator replay. Goodness gracious me.
I like just the initial engage on the Score makes sense. like we can kill him. But then you look at Deft already moving from top, while we have Breeze staying to kill the wave. So you're always going to get outnumbered, and you're obviously going to lose 1 or 2 players pretty quickly. Mata, in the end, even stays alive. Now it's looking really rough. We said, get to late game. Olaf was supposed to be that bridge from the early game to the late game, but he's not really found any early success. And now you have Yukal, who, by the way, against TL was already insane.
Yep.
He just picked up 2 kills on the swing.
Well, another Drake as well for KT, continuing to stack advantages here now, 3,000 gold ahead, as Mad still kind of getting shut out off the map. They have 1 kill, and that's it for their success so far in this game.
And you know Yukal's feeling it right now, because he's got a first item Magi's.
He's learning from Jizuke.
Ah, is that what's happening?
Yeah, you need the soul. I will say one little warning here for Yukal. If you sell the Soul Stealer, you will lose. That's what happened to Jizuke. When he kept the Soul Stealer, he won. When he sold it, he lost.
I also tweeted about him. That's never a good sign. I have a very bad strike rate. I think that this is now a game where something has to go catastrophic. Catastrophically wrong for the KT lineup, because we've already seen kind of how their team fight execution works, how you can't really get past. Actually, hold that thought.
Snaps at it again. Vanguard's edge pop. Gonna keep surfing around here. Leon gonna try and kite it out. Good dash over the wall to maybe keep himself safe, and Smeb's just gonna let him go this time.
Well, it's so hard as Aatrox. One, you're behind already, and naturally in the matchup, you just kind of hit the point where you can't 1v1 the Aurelia. Her CC, the fact she can disarm you like this is rough for the Aatrox.
Something brewing here in top side. Perhaps it's 3v3 right now. That turret is getting chunked out. Now this early power Varus Def did not go Rageblade first. Went Blade of the Ruin King into Pickaxe for a lot of early strength, and KT taking 2 turrets already.
And you've done the right thing. You've rotated your jungler over. You're just looking to repel. You're not looking for the fight. But unfortunately, Def doesn't really care. Just sits there, prioritizes the right objective. Yukal already moving. And this is why this super team is working, is because every single player is on the same page. They understand what their role in the play is. You can see Smeb rotates into the mid lane, starts that push early, the top side of the jungle. There is no vision. They can't step up to it. And already, K nearly dies.
Score almost got himself a kill. Rakan will get out today.
It feels bad when you are sitting on Moby boots and your upgraded coin, and that's it. And the enemy team is already on 1 item, almost 2 on the other side. You're gonna die very quickly here as a Rakan. It feels like Mad Team, they have like 1 fight left where they must get a couple of kills and then a tower or 2 to get back in this game. Otherwise, KT will just keep taking everything.
And there's the Rift Held over for KT as well. Usually this is the thing that gives you either your first outer turret or the one you're missing. KT instead have the luxury of using it on a tier 2.
And the problem is that some of their plays are going to have to come from deep teleports. But you have a look at the vision right now that KT's been able to maintain. There is no vision in KT's jungle. There is no ward past river that you can look to go towards to get maybe a cheeky flank onto someone like Def, blow him up and try and equalize a team fight, which means that the creativity has to be insane for something to work.
They got the ward now when KT pushes for the tier 2 mid turret. Right behind them. Ward is just here, bottom of the screen. Sadly, Mata might spot it now.
And the thing is that Def even just reads the play. He just says, you know what? I am so far up in items, I'm not going to lose a straight damage per second race regardless. My top side of the map is so far behind. I probably am where the play is, so I'm just going to buy the QSS. I'm going to try and nullify some of that.
That's actually one of the worst feelings in League of Legends. When you know you're behind and you see the other people can start building defensive items, so there's even less of a chance you can actually kill them, and they will still deal more damage than you deal.
Well, certainly, again, luxuries that KT are afforded for the advantage they have built on about 5,000 gold ahead as they're fading down towards this right-hand side. score with that Rift Tower. Maybe you wanted to get something started, and Marta leading the charge.
And it's the simple things in League of Legends that make me happy, Pastry. It's going to be the Dragon as the next major objective. So Smeb, as he has no teleport right now, plays on the objective. UCal has the flexibility to be able to go to the top side of the map, play with the teleport there. It is going to be matched, but they've already been winning their isolated lane. They push in as a unit, get secure wards around a pushing bottom lane. This is just KT, like, slowly but surely taking over quadrants of the map.
But now you do have the chance of a TP flank. There's a couple of wards behind KT that they didn't manage to spot. They were placed like out in the middle of the jungle. You have TP ready for Uniboy. They're still pushing here with the Rift Herald. If you're gonna do it, it should be now.
Yeah, you've got to do it before you perhaps lose this inhibitor turret as KT see it will actually peter out. They took the tier 2. They'll get the charge on the inhibitor turret, but no need to do much else. They are going to rotate to UCal here in mid lane, who's done some damage to that turret already. Uniboy does not take the first claw. Mad again. Have to start defending at some point, but Marta finds the first blade. There's into the solo fight, the CC chain, enough to kill Young with World Ender available.
And the problem is you go for the play, it's uncoordinated, it's not on the same page, it just looks sloppy. And we were saying this about TL versus KT. They just didn't make a play. They never really tried to get the game back on their style. But I just think that KT at the moment plays such high pressure League of Legends that whilst you're in the game, you just don't feel like you have that window to execute.
That is the problem for Mad Team. We already said in the pick and ban phase, in terms of early laners or early game and how good your laners are, they are completely outmatched against KT. We saw that as well, how a bunch of their lanes just fell behind. Uniboy did keep up in farm, but didn't actually manage to have any impact on the map. And they just kind of slowly fell further and further behind, and now you're just getting choked out.
This is, again, something that's pretty admirable about this team is that KT are a very stylish team when they need to do. They can make big plays, they can get solo kills and style on you. Other than that, they just play really solid League of Legends and are able to beat you on the map as well. So it's kind of pick your poison, I feel like, when you play against KT. They're always ready to beat you no matter which strategy you choose.
Yeah, I mean, that is a nice change for KT, especially this split. Like, they're no longer the team who will always win the first 25 minutes and then randomly throw once we get to the late game, which just kept happening in the LCK. Like, they've really made sure they are much more consistent now. They can play all phases of the game, and that's why they're so scary. And a lot of people look at them as one of the potential favorites to win Worlds.
And kind of the last hurdle was, can they do that in big games, right? Because historically, they've been able to make things like playoffs runs, but they've never been able to execute in that best of 5. Well, this year, they'll even able to do that. So I think that this really is the team. If you are talking about S-tier favorites, you do have to include with RNG right now. The question is this the style that they can maintain against the top teams at Worlds? Because they haven't really been challenged by either TL or Mad Team as of yet throughout an early or mid game. A lot of area has just been ceded to them from what I've seen.
I think based on the games we've seen in this group, even though it's only been a few, obviously we're casting the teams who've only played once already, but based on those games, like KT looked like a kind of team who can 6-0 in their group. You can then argue, is it a disappointment if they don't 6-0? Well, now we are teleporting into fight.
Oh, Marta insta-blast gets the Q stun. Uniboy actually able to get out of there. Marta with the Zenith Blade poke, but doesn't quite find it over the wall. And now Ragnarok pops that Olaf over the wall to be safety as Uniboy does self-ult to try and buy more time for his team. But I think it's to his detriment. Nice watch there to dodge the seismic shove. But he is going to finally fall as UCal on a rampage. Going to chase down under the turret and try and pick off Breeze as well. Doesn't quite grab it, but KT take the kill.
And this is what I mean. They're just terrifying. They know that no one can contest them right now on the side of Mad. They pull the trigger as a unit, everyone flying in, and they only grab themselves one kill, but immediately eyes back towards the objective, pressure the Mad lineup, make them come to us.
They have 2 mountains. Happy to start this Baron with the lead that they already have.
All right, Kay, everything is ready. Get in there, be annoying, see if you can maybe stop them from
Goodbye,
actually
Baron.
burning it down in time, but of course there's nothing he can do. I actually respect him for trying to save the KDA. Don't want to be the guy who just dies for nothing.
That's what it's all about now. You just stat pad till the end of the game.
With that 6-0-1-1 KDA, you know, that looks good on the stat sheets.
Better than the 0-3, but this is once again just decisiveness. Don't allow him to get over the wall, make him burn the summoner spell. As I mentioned at the start of the game, Smeb's very good at ulting during a team fight to cut off any form, Smeb's score of any form of escape, and this is pretty pedestrian after this point.
At least you and the white got like almost the maximum amount of like CC and time you can actually buy.
It just didn't do that much.
As Alessandro, sadly, there was no follow-up to actually help him. Team simply were not ready to actually join.
And this is always the age-old question. Is it scarier to lose against RNG when Uzi smashes your 80 carry in lane? You feel like you never had a window. Or whether a team does this to you, just slowly pushes out 3 waves, just takes your turrets in a 2v2, goes into your jungle, takes away all form of economy for your jungler, and then at a certain point in the game, you know, this game, 22 minutes in, you feel like you have no way to actually play now. 2 different styles, but I think both equally terrifying.
He got the minion.
Mother's trying stuff, I think, at this point. Again, KT don't need to do too much more with their 10,000 gold lead, but K, he's going to try and make the play happen, and Death makes him pay by taking him off the map. Yuka looking for a flank, pops the ult, he needs more Magi stacks, he's only got 14, give the man some stacks! Smeb gonna take the next one down as Kenge dies, and KT diving with impunity towards Mad's Nexus.
K just nearly killed himself by dashing through the pebbles both ways. This is a rough game.
I mean, 23 minutes in, KT are gonna finish it right now. They probably want some more kills.
Yep, TV back in. We'll see what they can do here as Mad starting to get pressed towards their fountain. Ult from Death gonna catch Alessandro, who's forced to pop back into stasis. KT again just escorting these minions in. No claw taken, turret 1 dead. KT
Oh, they're running away.
I believe the previous quickest game was like 26 minutes or something.
21 minutes.
Oh, 21 was it? Who had, at all-time worlds?
Yes.
I was talking about this year. I think 26, 47 or something along those
Oh,
lines.
no, I meant like doing play-ins and so on.
Yeah. But, whoa, this is not going to be that quick then. Not the quickest victory.
Still pretty speedy, all things considered, as KT will actually back out after taking only 1 Nexus turret.
Is this how you normally build your Swain?
Yeah, very often. I normally have 0 stacks on the Soul Stealer, but I have it, you know.
It's the inverse of UCal's deaths to stacks. You have the other one. You have 16 deaths and 0 stacks.
Exactly.
All right, well, let's just
Here we go. That's a great stun. The melee minion is out of